I know our relationship isn't perfect, but I do feel like what we got going on is pretty awesome.
Here we go.
Here we go. I think that if our husbands weren't brothers, I would still choose you as a best friend.
I know you so well. Sometimes I think I know you more than you know yourself.
Probably. I'm sometimes in awe with how interesting our life is. I'm Alex.
I'm Lexi.
And this is Accidentally on Purpose.
Woohoo!
Yeah. We're going to cut that out.
Straight from New York, it's Saturday night.
Straight from New York, it's Tyler.
It's Tyler.
And straight from NWA, West Side.
Whoa.
Alex and Lexi. Put those away. I don't even know what that means, y'all.
Okay. This is our first time in this spot.
I feel like this is also the first time that we've never had a plan. Like, not necessarily not a plan, but like just letting conversation flow. Mm-hmm. And because like with, you know, our assistant comes on, we talk about conspiracy theories. And then we have a general idea. And I mean, like, obviously, you're a hairstylist, so you know, like, we have a general idea of what we're going to talk about today. But we also kind of want to, like, make it not necessarily just centered towards hairstylists for us. Because I know that we have, like, a wide variety of listeners. And I honestly sometimes get scared that somebody that's not a hairstylist is going to listen to this, and then we're going to, like, spill all of our secrets, like, actually.
Or, like, scare them?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I wanted to talk about, like, your podcast.
So my podcast is coming out soon. And really it's about, like, mindset, business for hairstylists, particularly, like, hairstylists that do hair extensions, because that's what I specialize in. But, yeah, it's just kind of, like, me telling my story and how I kind of overcame a lot of, like, financial hardships, because I had to file bankruptcy. I had, you know, a shit ton of debt.
But that's, like, honestly so terrifying. But when you came and taught the class at the salon, like, I make it a mental note to, like, have the mindset before I go in class that this is kind of going to be, like, something that relights a fire under my butt, just so, like, I am intentional about taking things away from it. And the one thing that I loved the most was when you were like, you need to get out of the mindset that you have to be booked all the time, 6 months out, because, you know, you're not allowing room for new clients. And I think that, you know, this day and age, like, people, like, we've had somebody call the salon one time and say, like, oh, well, how far is she booked out? Oh, well, she has an opening this week. Well, she's not the stylist for me, because if I want somebody that's booked out really far, like, I understand the logic, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe we should rethink this. And, like, it's, you know, the narrative is changing within the industry, but getting it to the people is like, we need to shift that narrative with them too.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, I have gaps in my schedule, and I have, like, 3 or 4 new clients next week. Yeah. And it's great because that leaves room for, like, more besties for me.
Yeah.
to find.
When is your podcast coming out?
Hopefully within the next month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you, I mean, I don't know if I'm spilling some tea. We can cut this out if we need to, but I love that you are, like, prepared. Like, you have so many episodes under your belt that you can just, because that's been a struggle for us, is, like, you know, we had 2 episodes pre-recorded, and we try to record, like, for the previous week or 2 weeks. So, like, if we record today, like, we would plan to release it on Friday next week if this was the normal season. Yeah. But with the new season coming out, we want to, like, kind of shift things a little bit and be a little bit more prepared, because, you know, we spent money on the room, we want you spent money on equipment, we want to make a schedule out of it, like, we try to make a schedule about everything. But yeah, podcasting is, like, one of those things that can easily get swept under the rug. And it's like, if you want to make, and honestly, I did not realize how many people become famous from TikTok just for podcasts.
Really?
Yes. Like,
hey, marketing tips.
Yeah. Dude, literally.
Do you have a TikTok?
I do.
Do you post on it?
Very rarely. But I started doing, funny about TikTok, I started doing videos of day in the life of a hairstylist in New York, what I did and how much I charged.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Those popped off, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. I got one that got like 50,000 views and another one that got like 20-something thousand views. And
awesome. Here we are shitting our pants at 1,800. Come on now.
But that was my first time ever having something that got anywhere close to that. Like, I've had, you know, like 5 to 10,000. Very rarely, but I've had that happen. But to have something get like that much engagement or that much or that many views was really cool. Like it was very like kind of fulfilling to me. And I knew like, oh my God, people don't understand like how much it costs to actually be a hairstylist, like with your rent, your supplies, everything that you...
Did you put those in your thing of like you had to pay that?
No, I didn't. I want to make videos about that too, but I just knew, because I have a client who she does what like day in the life of my family of 6 living in New York City. Her name is Christy, Party of 6. Okay. And her and her husband, they're well off. They live well in New York City, but New York City is really expensive. And to live well in New York City, it costs a lot of money. So she's like posting about how much she spends in a day. And people are like, oh my God, you're like spending all this money. That's as much as my mortgage is your one day spend. Especially when she comes in for her hair. So that's how I got this idea to do like how much I charge as a hairstylist in New York City, because people don't understand like the back end of it. They only see like the price tag, and I knew it would get a lot of views, and it did.
For sure.
I was like,
I need to look that up. I haven't seen it.
I've seen Phoebe a couple of times do a like what I charge or whatever, but I mean honestly, like especially now we've had to shift how we're doing our business expenses and how we're like paying ourselves and like all kinds of things. And when you put it down on paper, it like becomes so mind-boggling that like, oh my God, did I actually spend this much money, or does it actually cost this much? We literally went and bought 6 products for $200. Like that's insane. But
we're here in Arkansas. So
I've actually heard that it's very comparable in this area to New York. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody said that it was very comparable. I don't know who said it, but
like pricing to get your hair done or to be a hairstylist?
No, just to live there.
Oh, to live there? I mean, my 3-bedroom apartment is over $5,000 a month.
Yeah,
that's not comparable. Just kidding. Just kidding.
And like my rent for my suite is about $900 a week. And
stop it right now.
I swear.
But do you have like, is it a good size? It looks like a good size.
It's like maybe like 110 square feet, something like that. It's like, it's bigger than my suite was at my salon suites in Bentonville, but it's bigger than that, but not much bigger, you know?
Right.
It's maybe like 1.5 of what I used to have.
Crazy. And where, like the location wise?
It's like right at the bottom of Central Park over to the east. So I'm like close to the river on the east side, but like kind of lined up with the bottom of Central Park.
And your Roosevelt Island is on the same side as like it's on. Yeah. It's so it literally.
Yeah,
takes
it's like
you.
Super close. It takes me like 20 minutes to get to work.
That's awesome, especially in New York.
Awesome.
Like,
yeah.
Well, okay, so for relevance,
yeah,
we charge $215 a week for booth rent.
Yeah.
And like that, like you have to do your own towels.
Yeah.
You have to do all the things, right? At your suite.
Yeah.
We do the towels. We provide back bar. We do all the things.
Yeah, and I'm paying for back bar. I'm doing my own towels. Laundry at the suite in New York, which I never expected it to be free. It's free. And in Northwest Arkansas, not free.
Yeah.
But
the least that they could do is give you free laundry for $900 a week.
That is insane.
And I have one of the cheaper rooms. I got one of the cheapest rooms that had a window. Like the other rooms are like $1,200-$1,300 a week that have windows.
I am flabbergasted.
That's like my mortgage.
Yeah.
So are the other stylists in there, like, are they like, do they do well?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, then they're really not, you know?
Yeah.
They're like not making anything if they're not bringing in
it's
a
so
good amount of
hard
money.
to like envision that and like think like, man, like they're not making any money. They just make enough to pay the rent. Like that's so hard for me. That's so hard for me to like even think about that hardship.
So before the suite, you were in a salon, right?
Yeah, I was in a salon and I did booth rent at the salon, and it was $150 a day. But with like paying an assistant, expenses and stuff, typically it costs around like $400 to $500 a day just to work, like between all the expenses and everything.
Is New York is it common for them to have like daily rentals?
So it was $150 a day, and that's based on how many days that a week that you work. And like basically what the salon owner did, he was like, you choose your days and you have to choose like your days of the week, and then that turns into a whole month. So like say if you have 12 days of the month, that you want to rent, you choose like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so you have 3 days for 4 weeks, and that's you pay your rent all at once for the month, but you like, it's based on how many days that you work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's like some math equation about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we wanted to talk about like building a clientele in a smaller town.
Yeah.
Versus, I guess, building a clientele in
a big city.
Yeah, big city.
Yeah. So where would you guys like to start about that? Because
I knew you when you were in the suites. I knew of you, and when I found out that it was you, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Tyler Extensions right there. Like, so you know who that is? That's Tyler Extensions. Like, you don't have a last name; it's just your handle.
Tyler Extensions.
Tyler Extensions. And Lexi was like, I don't know if you did know who he was or not, but like, I was just like so like floored by the fact that like you were traveling back and forth to New York, and I was like, and we know him, like, and like know of him, like that's super cool. Like, starstruck is the word. But I like also always saw somebody in your chair when you were in there, so I was like, he is freaking killing it in here. And then like you obviously had a name for yourself, because like if I talk about you to my current extension clients, they're like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Like, I did research on him, like, but he lives in New York, or he moved, or yeah, I went to him for a little bit and then he moved, you know, like it seems like everybody knows who you are.
That seems like so kind of crazy or like surreal to me.
Right?
Is that shocking to you?
Yeah, I mean, so I have my best friend. She lives here in Northwest Arkansas, and like she's changed hairstylists a couple times since I moved. Obviously, she was like going to me whenever I lived here, but she's changed a couple times since I moved. But every time she goes to somebody, she'll like talk to them about me, and she always says that they know who I am, even if I don't know, even if like they don't follow me on Instagram, or like I don't follow them or whatever. Like they knew who I was, or like they know who I am or whatever. And that seems like so weird to me. Like I think I was the first person in Arkansas. I don't know if you guys know this. I was the first person in Arkansas offering hand-tied extensions back in like 2016.
Baller, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think like even back in like 2016, 2017, I was having people drive from like Dallas or drive from, you know, Southeast Arkansas, because I was doing MBR. And MBR was like the biggest hand-tied extension method at the time. And like, I think at the time it was like the top of the line extension method. You know, now it's like, I think it's good for what it is. I think that there's things that I find that work better for me, but that was like the top of the line at the time. So I like posted, you know, on Instagram, I'm like MBR certified and all this stuff. And so then I just started getting people in Arkansas that were like coming up to see me, like from Little Rock and Southeast Arkansas and like all these things. And so that was really cool, like kind of starting off like that. But I think that helped me really jump forward with like building an extension clientele really quickly, because I was the only one.
Yeah.
So what, I guess, made you look into NBR?
I had been, that's a whole story. So I had been following Danielle White. She's the creator of NBR. I've been following her on YouTube since I was in high school. I always wanted to do extensions. That's why I went to cosmetology school in the first place. I always wanted to do extensions. I love the transformations. I love like
instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Yeah. Like I loved it. I found it so fascinating. It started off with wigs. Like I thought wigs were really fascinating, and I think that came from watching drag races, like drag stars. Yeah. And I got like into watching drag shows, and then that led me into, you know, their hair. I just like was fascinated by the wigs and how they made them look real and stuff. So then that led me into extensions. Then I found Danielle White and NBR, started following her on YouTube. Well, then the woman I assisted, she was really big into SoCap extensions, which are like individual K-tips.
Oh, okay.
And at one time, she was like the top person in the country for SoCap extensions. And
it's so crazy how things ebbs and flows like that, you know? Like that, honestly, though, kind of terrifies me, because I love hand-tied so much. Terrifies me that it could like ebb and flow like SoCap could.
I don't think it will. I really don't think it will.
I think it is definitely something that's like been a game changer for the industry and as a whole.
Yeah. And I think that now people have found out ways to do it without causing damage and without like just mutilating somebody's hair.
Yeah. I was talking about that yesterday.
Like we've all seen it. We've all seen it. Like I can't tell you how many times I've had clients that have come in with like tape-ins or K-tips that
literally hanging on by a thread.
and I'm not like knocking either one. I think there's a time and place for every hair extension method, but I do think that hand tied methods are better for like the mass population.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I think there's a place for them in generally everyone's hair.
Yeah.
Like whether that be a mini panel, whether that be a full row, 2, 3, 1, you know, like I think that there's a benefit for everyone for that.
Yeah.
And like, you know, same thing with the soak cap ones. Like I've had to think about doing like hairline before of like just the soak cap, but I'm so thankful that I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy, like just how many different things that there are and like the stigmas that go behind each one, because one person could have heard the hand tied was really bad for you and it's damaging, but like in my experience, I've only worked with one method that has actually been, no matter which way you do it, whether you're a professional or not a professional, it sucks every way you do it, and it will rip your hair out. So yeah. Great. Not the one I do now, but it's fine. Anyway, I digress. But
So
yeah.
assisting her and like watching her extension transformations, I was like really in love with it. So while I was assisting her, she got pregnant with her last child, and she got put on bed rest. She was supposed to go to take the MBR class. She had already booked the class. She was like going to go out there.
So it was like totally by fate, dude.
Totally by fate. She got pregnant, got put on bed rest. And she was like, the ticket's non-refundable. They're not giving my shit back. And like she paid for my flight. She paid for my hotel. And all I had to do was pay for my Uber to and from the airport and my food while I was there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh my
I did work
gosh.
really hard as her assistant.
Yeah,
I
no,
put in the hours. I put in the time.
And when you said that, you know, people like know who you are or whatever, like we had somebody, I think a kind of relevant thing happened to us where they were like, oh yeah, Amber and Sage, I've heard of them. And we were like, wait, what?
Have
Like,
you?
how?
Like, it's
how I
like,
always
it's
feel. I'm like-
surreal. It's a surreal feeling. You always have to like fake it till you make it. And you have to think that you're hot shit on social media. And so like you're living this like almost like fallacies. What's that from? Breaking Bad. Thinking, I don't know why that came up in my head. But anyway, you're living this like story that you are trying to portray to the world.
Yeah.
And then it starts to become a reality.
Yeah.
Like us getting best of the best and like people knowing our name and like hairstylists that we've never even heard of before. Like being like, oh yeah, like I follow you and I've been, you know, watching your whole story since you guys have been doing it. Like that's definitely surreal and like it's just a weird feeling. Like you're not necessarily having to fake it as much, but also that like sounds incredibly conceited. That like
That imposter syndrome.
yeah, because you're still thinking that you're like a small town, like
Yeah.
irrelevant nobody.
Like there have been so many times in my career where like after I did something, I'm like, oh my God, that was like the cringiest thing ever. Like I'm so cringy. I just
Archive.
care. Like I just don't care. Like
Good.
who cares?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like who cares if something that you do is cringy? Nobody else thinks about it but you. And
Right.
like being on social media, I will never pretend I'm like a social media guru because I'm just not. Like I just don't care about social media. That's why I've hired somebody to do mine, and they're starting in November, and really excited. for that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Because I just like I'm not passionate about social media. I literally couldn't care any less than what I already do. Like my notifications are turned off. I just don't care if I'm cringy or not on social media because like I just don't care anyway, and got me this far. So
You're doing great.
Yeah.
been okay.
You're
I mean,
doing
but, like,
awesome,
that just-
sweetie.
You're like being authentically who you are
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So I think that's one big thing too is like the imposter syndrome. I was talking to Bailey about it one day. I was like, I just feel like who I'm portraying on Instagram is not me. Like I do not feel like that person is who Alex is. And granted, the last 2 years of my life have been very like, who is Alex? But I definitely don't feel like who I'm portraying on Instagram is that. So.
Do you guys ever feel like you have kind of like ebbs and flows of finding yourself?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
I would say 3 years ago to about a year ago, I was like happiest I've ever been. Like I'm in like the best relationship. I'm in like this amazing city. I'm like the most successful in my career. And then I feel like I lost part of that. And now I'm like finding that again, you know, like doing things that I know I find a lot of joy in that I kind of let go of.
Yeah.
And it's working. I'm like getting back to that place. But
That's good.
Good.
It's kind of like, it's as a hairstylist, I think just any service-based job that kind of happens, like you just feel like you give so much of yourself to your clients, or you give so much of yourself to everybody around you. Like you guys have a whole team of people that you're pouring into, and your clients, and you're supposed to take care of yourselves as well. Like it's really, I think it's a really sad part of our industry. I mean, I'm very thankful to be in the industry.
Right.
It is like, I think one of the most negative parts about our industry is like having to pour so much of yourself into everybody else.
Right.
And yeah, I don't really see that a lot talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, me either. Because I think like people don't want to seem ungrateful.
Yeah.
But I think you can be very grateful, and like,
especially with how much we are able to charge for the services that we're doing.
You're like, why are you complaining?
Like, no, sorry. It doesn't, like, money doesn't buy happiness. So, you know, I think, yeah, it's so hard because, you know, in this season of my life, I'm like, when there's a common thing amongst people who have kids is like the cloud or like the fog gets lifted after you get out of that like 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old kid phase. But like right now it literally feels like my life is stuck on repeat. Like every single day I'm waking up and doing the same thing. And like, I'm so glad we actually decided to take Fridays off after your class. Okay. Yeah. We were like, no more Fridays. We are doing this for us. So like literally like we don't plan anything together. We don't plan anything unless it's something like this, you know, we don't plan anything together. We don't plan anything business related. It's strictly for either like our personal relationship or, you know, like cleaning our house or, you know, doing things that are for us. And honestly, like that's been a really big weight off of my shoulders, as far as like taking care of my life. But it's so, Andrea had put it a really good way. She was like, I'm 30 minutes before I'm leaving the salon, I'm thinking about how when I get out of the car at the daycare, I have to switch modes and I have to be mom and I have to be housemaker and I have to be wife and I have to be all these other things. But then I also have to be behind the scenes, hairstylist, booking clients, all the things. And then I get to the salon and I can be just a hairstylist. So like, in a way, it's kind of like not a double standard or a double negative. I don't know if but it's like, more relieving for me to be at the salon doing hair because everything else in the world doesn't matter and I forget about it. Yeah. So I don't know if that's like bouncing off the same thing as what you were saying, but I definitely feel like that fog that I'm in right now, you know, it's like I'm looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel and we're getting there. But I'm grateful that I'm in a place where we can go and take a weekend for us. And, like I told her, I think we were driving home. I was like, I'm just like really happy. Like this is what I needed. And, it was like the best time ever. But aside from that, like I love my life and I'm happy, but it's definitely a struggle, you know, constantly thinking about like what my clients are going through or dealing with the money, or if there's a stylist that's unhappy about something, like I feel like it's constantly something, but like also like not getting mad about it constantly being something. I feel like it's so easy to get bogged down about it constantly being something like, oh, it's constantly something, but understanding that things are going to happen and they're going to come and it's constantly something. It's like that acceptance of it that becomes more bearable, I guess. It's just a mindset,
that's hard for me because I am the one that's like, why does it have to be constantly something? And because like I love talking to people, but like in the nicest way possible, it really drains me.
Oh, I think it does everybody though. People just portray it differently. I think it drains everybody. It drains me to talk about everything all day long, and then it comes 4 o'clock when I'm doing a blowout and I'm like, I literally have no words right now. So
well, I know people feed off people's energy. I'm just saying I don't.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just me. But yeah, I feel like I need to just like keep myself in check of like, okay, I need to be more positive about this so then it will actually feel positive even if I'm like in a rut. I need to try to check myself.
Changing your mindset about what it is that's going on in your life.
Like, I know for a fact she's really good at like keeping me in check about that too, because if I'm like, oh, what, blah, 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 and she's like, it's gonna be fine. Like, it's not. And then vice versa. Like, I don't know how we do it, but we also know the right time to keep each other in check.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works out that way. But I mean, it's like, especially like, you know, your fiance doesn't like, he doesn't do hair, right?
No, he's an architect.
Right. So like,
Also,
Very different.
congratulations.
congrats.
Thank you
Yes.
so
I'm like,
much.
fiance. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
literally.
Yes. But
I want to know the story.
So, or which part? Like
The engagement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were in Key West. We were in Key West. I was like,
oh yes.
I know the island that we got engaged at, but it's called Dry Tortugas. It's like 85 miles off the coast of Key West. Have you heard of it before?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
What about you?
Just Key West.
So it's like,
Dry turtle.
yeah, Dry Turtle. It's like this little island that has an old abandoned military fort on it from like the 1700s or something.
Wow.
That like it hasn't been in use, you know, for like 200 years or something like that. Well, they take like small like water planes out, and a ferry goes out there twice a day. So how my now fiance had planned this was he had called them like a million times trying to figure all this out, and I was like, why is he so like concerned about how we're gonna get there and like what time of day we're going? Like it just didn't make any sense.
Just
to me.
chill.
Yeah, I'm like, who cares? Like it's just like an excursion. Like it'll be fun no matter what time of day we go. But he was planning on proposing there. Obviously, he knew he wanted to propose there, and he wanted to go there when it was going to be the most empty. So during the earlier parts of the day, when they take the ferry out, there's like 100 people on that ferry, and it's a small island. It's about 16 acres, but half of it is like blocked off. And so that means like there's going to be people walking around. Like this fort, the fort is huge, and it's 3 stories tall. It takes up almost the entire island. But there's like snorkeling around and like crystal clear water, beautiful weather all year round, you know, everything.
Beach sounds great.
It was stunning. So beautiful. But going out there, he decided to get us on the last flight and not take the ferry or the earlier flights. The flights have like 10 people on them. We were on the last one there. And whenever we were landing, everybody who was there from earlier in the day, like on the ferry and on the earlier flights, they were leaving. So there was literally only 20 people on the whole island, like including the people who worked there. There was only 20 people on the entire island while we were exploring, and it's 16 acres. So you're not like right there next to somebody if there's 20 people. So we had like little beaches to ourselves. But right when we first got there, he was like, "Let's go explore the fort first, and then we can go snorkeling after." So that way we like get a good like feel of the fort and everything. So we go up to the very top, and it looks like you're just on a cliff because it's like covered in grass. It's covered in like rocks and stuff. And there's like a little path, like a walking path on the top. But I think that they have all this like grass and stuff up there because that's how they filtered the water, like back in, you know, like the 1700s or whatever. That's how they filtered it to get fresh drinking water, because there's no fresh water on the island, so they relied on the rain.
Wow.
And it would like filter down into like these reservoirs or whatever. But that's where we were. We were on like the top where all that is. And it's so beautiful. Like it's so pretty. And he's like, let's find a good spot to take some pictures. And I knew going out there that we were going to probably like take some pictures and stuff, get a little bit of, you know, content while we're
Did you
there.
know though? Like, did you have any idea?
No, so I thought he was going to propose on 4th of July. Because that's like when we started dating. That was like our first kiss. That was like...
I'm
like
going
our
back
first
to look
everything.
at the picture of the post.
And it was, this was on like the end of July. So I had thought he was going to propose at the very beginning. I think it was July 27th when he proposed.
Okay.
But...
So you're like, where is
yeah,
it?
I'm like, hello. Like, my best friend was in town. She was in New York. She was staying with us. And she had even said, like, every time she comes to New York, she stays with me the whole time that she's there.
Aw.
And she was like, oh, we're going to, her and her mom were coming. And she was like, oh, we're going to get a hotel right after the 4th. Like, we're going to get a hotel, like, the next, like, on the 5th. And I was like, oh, is she, like, doing that to give us some privacy or something? Like, is she going to stay at a hotel?
Literally gorgeous water.
It's beautiful. It was so
Literally
pretty.
gorgeous.
And that's like no filter anything. That's
Jeez.
like just the little GoPro camera.
Wow.
Wow.
So he sets up the camera and so basically
Literally, I'm watching it as you're saying it.
he sets up the camera and he's like, oh, go stand over there. I'm gonna like make sure I get like the camera set up right, and then I'll like snap some pictures. And my dumbass is just like over there like, it's so pretty.
Yeah, right.
And then he comes over, and I knew he had something behind his back, but I thought it was the remote for the GoPro to take pictures.
Well, that's perfect then.
Yeah,
He
and
literally
so,
planned it perfect.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, oh, he's just gonna like snap a couple pictures, And I was wondering if there was not, I'm like, oh, is there just not like a timed thing on the GoPro to take pictures? Which if you guys don't have a GoPro, those things take really great pictures and great video.
Okay, honestly, it looks like a phone camera. Like, it looks good.
And the GoPros are like this big. They're like tiny.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I think my dad has one, but I haven't.
You should use it next time.
I mean, is it old or not? Like, is it only the newers? Yeah, the newer ones or whatever.
But you can take it
You're
under
like, my
water
dumb
and
ass just
everything.
stood there.
I was like messing with my sandals.
Yeah.
And, like, just,
Yeah.
not really paying attention to him. And then he comes over and he has the thing behind his back.
That's precious.
And he's like, why I brought you here is because I want to like bring you to all the remote places of the world. I want to explore the world with you, and I want to see everything that we've never seen before together.
Oh my God.
And then you can't really hear what he says in the video because he's like trying not to cry, so he's like whispering.
I love
good, though.
I love that he got it on video though.
I know.
That is such a special moment.
He was trying to hire a photographer to go out there, but no photographers would like go out there. No like photographers that he liked their work were willing to travel to.
Why?
Because I'm like, it's so beautiful and like free little day trip.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
they
also
could
they would
post
get
it.
paid, but
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's
That
how,
is so sweet.
I love that. Oh, I'm a sucker for a good story like that. Ooh.
You guys want to know how we met?
Yes.
Yeah.
Duh.
So we met at a picnic in Central Park.
Stop.
And at that point in time, I was like, have my hot girl summer. I'm like, I'm not ready to date. I'm like, I was married before.
Really?
Yeah, I was in like a 4.5-year relationship from like 17 to like 21.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So my ex-husband, I think he moved to like North Dakota or something, but I think he's living back in Northwest Arkansas. Doesn't matter. But anyway, I was in a long-term relationship. Then
Like
right after,
gut punch here, man. Oh.
right afterwards, I was in like like a serious relationship, but it wasn't like very long. And he cheated on me, and like it ended very very poorly. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck relationships. I'm not ready to be in a relationship. I like wasn't really active on dating apps. I was just very actively not looking for a relationship. I was just
So it was
not
organic.
into it. Yeah.
Very
and
organic.
we got invited to this picnic in Central Park. I met this guy through somebody I met on Bumble BFF, which is like Bumble for friends.
Yeah.
That's how I like made my whole friend group in New York.
Oh, that's so cute.
But it was like, during the pandemic, like nothing was open. I was struggling to meet anybody in New York City, especially in New York City.
Yeah.
Well, met some people on Bumble BFF, got introduced to somebody else, and then he invited me to this picnic. He also invited my boyfriend or my fiance. And we met. I thought he was like really cute and really sweet, but he was so quiet and he didn't really talk to me during the picnic. And then later that night, we all went out, and then he would, like, our friend who invited both of us was trying to set him up with somebody else.
Oh.
And then he didn't like that guy, and then he was trying to set me up with that same guy. I didn't like that guy either. And
Dang.
then we kind of just like connected,
That
and
is
then
literally so cute.
3 weeks later we were making out at a bar and
Wow.
on July 3rd, and then the next day I had a 4th of July party because from my apartment I had a really amazing view of the fireworks. And then
I can't even imagine how good they are in New York City.
so good, especially because I live in the East River. Like I'm on a little island in the East River, and that's where they do the biggest fireworks show.
Oh my gosh.
So I like from my apartment, I just have like
The best view.
The best view of it. 'Cause
Yeah.
my window faced right down the East River.
Oh.
So it was perfect.
Okay, so you know what this means though, right? Like we have to
I
like
don't live in that apartment
Yeah,
anymore.
he
No, my
moved.
apartment does
still
still
on-
have
yeah.
a really great view, and it's still on Roosevelt Island. And from my rooftop, I have a great view of the fireworks.
okay, well still.
So
We're gonna plan a trip.
You guys
We've been
need
planning a
to-
trip
you can stay with me.
since-
I have an extra bed. I have 2 extra bedrooms. So
Okay, I mean we'd appreciate
Hey, look,
it.
lodging taken care of. Now we just gotta get there.
all you need is the flights.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Tessie can get me there. We can just stop on some chargers along the way, have a girls trip. Stop and see RD on the way.
Oh my god, yeah. And you like have a self-driving car.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't use it that much.
Oh.
I don't use the self-driving feature.
Yeah.
Not because like I don't trust her. She's great at it, but
I mean sometimes she's a little like.
yeah, she
You're
thinks
like,
she knows.
chill.
She thinks she knows.
She thinks she knows.
Yeah, she doesn't know. How long of a drive is that?
2 days probably.
2 days. Yeah, I did it during the pandemic. Well, first of all, my dad and my and my younger brother, and we drove up there to move me up there, and then they drove back. But I only drove one way, and then I stayed.
Yeah.
And that was literally over. It was like a day and a half, like driving straight through because we like. So we broke down for like 8 hours in Indianapolis.
Oh, whoa.
Actually, so my dad, he had a big truck at the time, and he was pulling the U-Haul trailer, like full of my stuff, and our brakes went out, and he had to like downshift or something to like slow the truck down.
That's what they say when it's like snowy and stuff. Like instead of like pressing on the brake, just like downshift, so it like makes your car slow down.
Yeah.
I think they call that engine braking, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, engine braking prohibited.
Yeah, I've always wondered what those.
Or maybe it's when you like see a cop and you pull the emergency brake and it makes you slow down instead of pressing on the brakes.
Oh, so it doesn't like put your brake lights on? Oh, smart. I don't drive very often, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't think to do that. Ever.
That's so crazy because like even if we did bring my car up there, like where are we gonna put her?
True.
There's a
I
parking
vote
garage close to
flying.
my apartment.
I'm gonna fly. You can drive.
I'm kidding. I don't think I would ever drive that. I think that sounds absolutely atrocious unless we stopped and saw Artie on the way. But anyway, he had to downshift.
Oh yeah, but we were fine. We like rolled into the dealership. They got us our stuff and all of that. Well, made it up to New York. It took like a day and a half of like just straight through driving. We were so tired. We were like taking shifts driving and like sleeping, because there was 3 of us, so we made it work. But during the pandemic, I had come back to Arkansas. This is actually how I started flying back and forth to and from New York. So this could like lead into a good story. Yeah. But I drove up there to get my hair stuff, so all my work stuff, because I brought it up there, and I came back thinking that it was only going to be like a 2 or 3 week shutdown, and then it was like 7 months.
Yeah.
And so came back here and didn't have my shears, I didn't have my extension kit. I only packed 2 weeks worth of clothes to come back. Really just like a week's worth of clothes, and they were all like winter clothes because the shutdown happened in like March. I drove up there. It took me 2 days to get there and 2 days to get back. It was the longest fucking drive of my life. Oh my God, it was so long. I had to sleep in, because hotels would not let you stay there with an out-of-state license. Did you guys know that?
No.
Like every hotel, and I had an Arkansas driver's license, an Arkansas license plate and stuff, but nobody out of state would let somebody from out of state stay at a hotel. It was like regulations going crazy.
Cross-contamination.
Yeah.
I can't even believe
COVID in a year.
Yeah, literally.
I can't even believe that, dude. Like, that's so insane that we lived that.
I know.
But
it seems so, like, that seems really surreal.
Yeah.
Like, so fake.
But that happened.
I slept in my car in a Love's parking lot.
Oh my God.
Which is fine. Like, I was fine. Like,
that's
good.
Did you, like, block out your windows or anything like that?
No, I mean...
You just slept in it? Did you
I'd be so scared.
Lot lizards coming up in there? Do you know what a lot lizard is?
Yeah. Well, my older brother's a truck driver.
Oh my God!
He has told me several stories about...
No!
I don't think that... Well, I don't know for a fact, but I don't think he's ever, had relations with a lot lizard.
Lot lizard?
But he has seen lot lizards on the lot. So... that led me into flying back and forth between New York and Arkansas.
Okay.
And you were allowed to do that during the shutdown?
No.
Okay.
Well, so what I did, I did follow the...
Beg for forgiveness?
Yeah, right.
Ask for forgiveness, but what I did, I would basically fly from Arkansas to New York, stay for about 2 weeks, work for 1 or 2 days. Because I didn't have enough clients anyway, so I would only work for 1 or 2 days, come back here, work for 2 weeks straight. Like, I would land at the airport in XNA, drive to the salon, and I would basically not leave the salon until 2 weeks later when I would be driving to the airport to go back to New York. And
this is during the shutdown, right?
This is during the shutdown.
So because there was a span of like 57 days where we weren't allowed to work.
So whenever I was flying back and forth, that was when salons had opened, but there was still mostly everything was still shut down. So salons had opened, and I was starting to get clients a little bit here and there trickling in. I was like doing some house calls and stuff during like the 2 days when I would work. So I followed the regulations, or I followed the rules for the most part.
It's fine. Everybody kind of broke them.
Everybody broke rules.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are. Everybody.
No,
Yeah.
everybody did. There's flu, colds, hand, foot, and mouth going around like all the time. Like I understand like the worry, especially when people were like wasn't.
Nobody knew. Like,
Yeah, it was so unknown.
It was just scary. Everybody was scared.
Yeah. Like I get it to a point too. You know, it's just
I think I had heard this this quote, like somebody giving a speech about like COVID or whatever and like the regulations and everything, but they were like, we will never know if we did too much, but we will always know if we didn't do enough.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I think like, did we do too much? I don't know. Like I don't know if we did too much because. Did it
maybe not.
Maybe not. Mm-hmm. It really fucking sucked.
Yeah,
yeah.
It wasn't an enjoyable experience for anybody.
Right.
But I think, you know, I do think that now we're like better for it because we know like the possibility of something like that could happen again, and that could, you know, at any point like. Because it was so fast. Everything just happened so quick. Like one day we're like in the salon being like, people are so dramatic about this like basically a flu going around, and then the next day New York is like 50,000 people have died today and we're shutting shit down.
Right. Yeah.
Everything was just so.
It was literally a Thursday, I think, when the governor got on, and I was FaceTiming, or were you at the house?
Yeah, I was at your house. So.
Yeah. And he was like, "Yep, everything non-essential getting shut down. Thank God both of our husbands could still work. They're electricians, so they could still work."
I just remember like staring at the TV like,
is this real life?
He just said that.
Yeah.
Like, and they like named all the stuff that had to be shut down or like named what was essential. And obviously
salons were not part of that.
We're not. Yeah. And we're like, this means we can't work.
It literally felt like a fever dream.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think around like 16 to 20 weeks pregnant with Boston at the time. And I was like, what are we going to do? Like, because it was like it wasn't like it's going to be for this long or it's going to be for, it was like the first time it was like 2 weeks. And then it's like kept going and kept going and kept going. But fun fact, I only washed my hair twice in that 57 days.
Yeah. But your hair probably doesn't get very greasy.
It doesn't now, but come 57 days, it was definitely. I did have some extension clients tell me though that she only washed it one time, and I was like, impressive. Love that.
Yeah, I remember our salon was making like root touch-up kits.
That's
to
what
like
I did.
send out. Yeah.
I would like drive to people's houses and I would put it on their front door.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I would have like a brushable and like their color and a little bit of developer and stuff.
That seems like so long ago.
Yeah, and I was like anything to make $75.
Honestly,
True. And I mean, like even in your situation, like that was crazy too, because it's like you were in New York and everything costs so much money. Like, were they giving you like breaks on your rent and stuff?
Hell no.
Really?
How did you make it?
So whenever this is like part of my whole bankruptcy story too.
Okay.
So part of my move to New York, one, I was not financially ready to move to New York at all. Like literally at all. Like I've
always wondered if it was like you did it here and then moved to New York and that was the reason you moved to New York, or if it was like to like start afresh
Well, it goes back like even to my marriage and all of that.
Yeah.
So financially in my previous marriage, I was the one who got wrapped up into paying all the bills when I didn't sign up for that, and that was never like agreed upon between us.
Almost kind of like abuse financially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like say our rent would be due on Monday and he would be paid on Friday, all of his money would be gone by Monday, just so he wouldn't have to pay rent.
Oh my!
He would like go shopping, he would go out to eat, all this stuff, and I'm like working 2 jobs, like trying to pay our fucking rent, and he's like, "Oh, I don't have enough money for rent." I'm like, I only budgeted for half the rent. Like, that's all the money I have left. So, like, now I'm having to buy groceries on my credit card. I'm having to, like, pay my car payment on my credit card.
Yeah.
I'm having to pay our utilities on my credit card. And he's not giving me that money back. So then I start building up all this debt while we're together.
Fuck him.
And then, yeah, fuck him. I mean, you know what? We were both really young and stupid.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's a learning experience. You've learned so much from it, so you're thankful for the journey, but fuck.
Yeah, thankful for the journey. Really shitty journey.
Yeah,
and
literally.
Back in 2018, my little sister passed away. And because her and I were really close, and I used, like, shopping and going out to eat as, like, a way to kind of fill that void, you know?
Sure.
And so I was just racking up debt, like credit card debt out the ass. Now I was making really good money. Like I was making at that point in time about $175,000 a year.
Holy shit!
Like in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, I was working my ass off. Like I was working every fucking day
Mm-hmm.
almost.
Yeah.
But, I was making great money, but I was not making enough money to pay down my credit card debt. By the time I filed bankruptcy, I was paying over $2,000 a month just in interest on my credit cards.
Holy crap!
I had over $100,000 in debt, and
that's just credit cards. I've heard you say this before. It was just credit cards, right?
So most of it was credit cards. I still had, I think, so I had like 120,000 somewhere around there in debt, and about 40,000 of that was on a car, and then which I was so stupid for buying that car, so dumb for buying that car. I had a Range Rover before I moved to New York. It got totaled in an accident.
Oh my gosh.
So then I was free from having a car payment.
Yeah.
I bought like a really cheap Jeep, and it started to go out like at the beginning of the pandemic. But I'm like, I should have just kept it because I wasn't living in a place where I needed a car. And then I came back here at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, oh, my car sucks. I want to get a new one. And so then I bought a brand new car, like not used, nothing, brand new. And of course, that was like $40,000. But about that time, I was like running out of money. So I had started working in the suite in Bentonville.
Yeah.
And I was trying to keep up with my rent in New York, trying to make my credit card payments, trying to make my car payment. And it was just like it was too much. Like I was just every month, like I would open up a new credit card, take money off that credit card to pay the payments on my other credit card. And I'm like, I'm making good money, but literally all of it's just going to credit card payments. And I'm not able to keep up. Like it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, I need to file bankruptcy. That's like the only way out of this.
How did you like emotionally handle that?
Really, I don't know. I really don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
I really have no idea how I was able to like say, well, I knew it was either like do or die, like sink or swim.
Right.
And
well, I just know for men in general, like just like your chemistry in your brain, like that's like a huge shot to your pride, right?
Yeah.
Like, cause like your innate like design and who you are is to like be able to provide for you and your partner. And like I can't even imagine just like you having to come to that conclusion and saying like I have to do this, and then dealing with the mental side of it.
I mean, I was so embarrassed. Now I can talk about it and it's fine.
But it's part of like
it's part of my
that
story.
shitty journey that you took, but also like you wouldn't be where you are if you hadn't done that.
Like I would be nowhere close to where I am today because it taught me so much about like personal finance and you know just managing your money and like having a better money mindset. Yeah. Because I always thought like, you know what, I make great money, I'm doing so well for myself, how can I not keep up? But I had gone too far too soon. Like I was living way outside of my means before I was making good money. And I didn't really know my business numbers. Like I didn't know like really how much my expenses were versus how much I was making and how much I should have been, you know, budgeting for my bring home versus like, you know, my expenses.
Yeah.
So if I made, you know, $1,000 a day, I was spending $1,000 a day on myself and not, you know, taking half of that and putting it towards the business. But because I like, you know, I had to file bankruptcy and like I was doing all these things to try to get myself back on track, I had to start over from zero. Whenever you file bankruptcy, you're not allowed to have like more than $13,000 like just at all. Like you can't have more than a certain amount of money because anything over that they take. And so one, I didn't have that much in cash anyway. Like I didn't have that much in my checking account regardless, so that was fine for me. But if you have over a certain amount of assets, if you have like a wedding ring that's worth $20,000, they're gonna take it. Like they're gonna.
So do they have people like come in and like search your house?
I mean, you have to like list all your assets. And one attorney that I actually talked to, she told me a story about a husband and wife that came in to like talk to her about bankruptcy. They like decided to file all these things. She had to take the woman's wedding ring like off of her hand, and she was like, that was the saddest thing I've ever had to do. And that I met with an attorney here in Northwest Arkansas and in New York. I decided to file bankruptcy in New York to keep some sort of let's keep it anonymous, really, because nobody in New York knows me, but it's public record. So here in Arkansas, I think it gets listed in the papers.
Holy shit!
I
mean, I know delinquent taxes do. So I mean, shit. I would imagine that
he filed bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was just so embarrassed. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be my downfall. Like this is gonna ruin me. But after filing bankruptcy, I was like, okay, this is my chance to really completely start over, starting over everything. Like,
so are you like not allowed to have credit cards until
you
for a
can't get
certain
a credit card once you file bankruptcy? Like no like company will give you a credit card. Like,
right.
I think the only credit card I could get was a $275 limit with a secured credit card. So I had to pay the $275 to get the credit card.
Oh my god!
And that was my credit card that I had. I used some to start building back up my credit. I started using I think it's called. I actually forget what it's called, but it's like a debit card that they let you spend money on a debit card based on the amount of money that you have in your checking account, and then every day they transfer it from your checking to them. Okay.
So like building back your credit isn't impossible.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Okay.
Not at all. But having to go through all these steps of I don't have any credit cards to fall back on. Like if I can't pay my rent, then I just can't pay my rent. And I was paying my rent on my credit cards. So I would literally put everything on my credit cards.
So this was when we saw you last in the suites. This was all unfolding then.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this was 2020.
Okay, yeah.
So
because we moved in November of 2020.
And I think I had filed bankruptcy a couple months prior to November, but all my debt was discharged that December. So I got to start the 2021 over completely fresh.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. So I did listen to that podcast you were featured on. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Misty Jane?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so in that podcast, what really stuck out to me was you were talking about your story, and you were talking about your mom, too.
Yes.
And I was kind of telling her a little bit about it, but if you wanted to.
So my mom is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and bipolar, and she's one of the lucky 25% that gets both. So my whole life, I have always just struggled with my relationship with my mom because of her mental health. And there are so many people diagnosed with mental health issues or mental health disorders or problems, or I think everybody has a little bit of something, whether it's depression, anxiety, stress, or whatever. And I'm not knocking anybody who has a mental health disorder, but my mom has had so many opportunities to take care of that and to get help. I have literally offered to pay for her therapy, to pay for her medication, but her issue is she'll be on a medication for 2 months, and then she feels like she doesn't need it anymore, and then she just stops taking it. Or she's like, I don't like the way it makes me feel, and then she just stops. Well, these medications that she takes are like chemistry altering drugs. They alter her brain chemistry. They are altering her personality. They are altering her brain chemistry.
In the right way. That's why she feels like she doesn't need it anymore.
Exactly. They level her out. And for her extremes are so extreme, and it's months of extremes. There's only I feel a couple days where it's normal, at a normal level, but then she's back up to an extreme or back down to an extreme. And my whole life, that's been my entire life. Well, as an adult and starting to, make adult money, she would really abuse me financially, lie to me, steal from me. She would there was one point in time I was 16. So this is not whenever I was making adult money, but I was 16 years old, and my older brother had this car. His car payment was about $250 a month. Oh. And he was living with my dad at the time, and I was living with my mom. But his car was through my mom's. My mom had been the one who purchased the car, but my brother was the one paying for it. And my brother got a new car, and I got his car, so I was taking over the payments. And my brother and my dad both told me he is 1 month ahead on car payments. He had worked hard to get 1 month ahead.
That's awesome.
So he was a month ahead, so I was getting this car expecting to be a month ahead, and I was going to keep that month ahead for as long as possible, in case of an emergency or something. Because I was 16 and I was, making $500 a month or something like that. $250 was a lot of money for me.
Right.
So, and just in case of an emergency, I was going to keep it a month ahead. So every month I was giving my mom my car payments. And then one day I found like final notice letters from the bank saying that they were essentially looking for my car, that they were going to repo my car.
My stomach literally fell out of my ass.
So then I had to spend like the next 6 months trying to make up for all the missed payments that my mom had taken from me as a child. I was 16 years old. My mom was stealing. In fact, she was telling me, no, your brother wasn't a month ahead. He was a couple months behind. So I was paying my mom every time I would get paid, like my entire paycheck, to make up for these missing car payments. And then come to find out that not only was she lying about him being behind, he was never behind. He was a month ahead.
So you were giving your mom the money because she said she was making the payments for you.
Yes, exactly. And then come to
my
find out
gosh.
she was never making any payments, and my brother was a month ahead, but it had been like 6 months since the payment was made.
So you were really only like 5 months behind instead of 6.
Yeah, exactly. But I had
Enough
paid my
behind.
mom like 10 payments
Oh,
for my car. Little story about the car payment. That just like lays the foundation for like how my mom is just okay with stealing and okay with lying about money. So as an adult...
Hold on, do you still talk to your mom?
No.
Okay, good.
oh, I was like,
I was gonna say.
No.
wonder if I
At
should
the beginning,
use
it kind of
this.
sounded like you were giving her a little bit of grace, and then
No, I just don't want it to seem like I'm shitting on people who have like
Mental health,
disorders-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
disorders
no,
or mental
yeah.
health issues. Because I think, like I said, just about everybody struggles
Yeah.
with some sort of mental health issue or disorder. But I think the issue lies in when people don't take care of it or don't take care of themselves and then put that burden on everyone else around them.
right.
Well, as an adult, my mom she would constantly ask me to borrow money or to be like, hey, can you pay for this for me? Can you pay for this for me? But it would always be something fucking stupid. Like my mom, I moved over 40 times before I turned 18 because my mom would move all the time. My mom could not stay in one place for more than 6 months, not because it was a bad place to live, not because we couldn't afford it, nothing like that. It was just my mom would just pack up and move. Like my parents had joint custody, so I would be at a week at my mom's, a week at my dad's whenever I was a kid. I would literally go to my dad's house for a week and come back and we would be living in a new place. Like it was just...
So like, how did that work? Like, if she was like renting another house and like you break a lease, does she just like skirt?
She would usually use my little sister's health as a reason to get out of the lease. She would be like, oh, we have to move down to Little Rock to be closer to the children's hospital. Can you please let me out of my lease without having to pay? And of course, people like...
That makes me so sad.
She
So
used
sad.
that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
ridiculous.
She used and abused that excuse over and over again.
Oh, my
And this
Over
is the
over.
little sister that passed away.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did she like? What?
She had a heart transplant and her body rejected it. So that's how she passed away. But she had health issues her entire life.
Oh, okay.
Like she was born with heart defects. And,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, so my mom just like used that as an excuse for everything. Like everything.
Wow. That's really sad.
So my mom, at one point in time, her and my stepdad had bought a house in Northwest Arkansas. Then they moved to Harrison.
Okay, well they bought a house, so that's achievable, right? I guess.
Yeah, they bought a house, probably more so because of him and
Right,
his
yeah.
stability
Probably.
versus
Yeah.
my stepmom, or not my stepmom, versus my mom. So they bought a house, then they moved to Harrison. They still own their house in Northwest Arkansas. Then they moved to Harrison, got a house there. I think they were renting a house there. And then they got an apartment in Bentonville because my mom didn't want to live in Harrison anymore. So at one point in time, they were paying for 3 different places. And then my mom was like, I want to move back to Harrison, but I don't want to live with my husband. So she got another place in Harrison. At that point in time, they had finally sold the house. They were still paying for 3 places, 3 different rents. And then my mom calls me and she's like, hey, I just rented an office because I'm working from home. She rented a house as an office. And she was like, I need money to buy furniture. I put a down payment on furniture and I need like the money for the rest. And she was like, can you loan me like $3,000?
Oh,
I'm like,
That's a
no.
lot.
No, you have 3 places to live currently, and you just rent another one as an office? No, bitch, I'm not giving you money. Like,
Literally.
What?
call me if you're starving or if you need somebody to pay for your meds. Like, don't call.
Yeah.
Call me for something actually important. No,
Right.
Don't call me for something stupid.
So what was like, I mean, obviously, like, this was happening when you were in your teens, right? So what was like the downfall of y'all's relationship?
I think I always tried to keep a really good relationship with her because of my little sister, because I was so close with my sister.
Right.
And I helped raise this girl. Like, I was 7 years older than her. My mom put so much of the responsibility on me. At one point in time, actually, my little sister's doctors had asked me to consider, like,
Power
fighting
of
my
attorney?
mom for,
Oh my gosh.
They were asking me to consider, like, fighting my mom for custody of my sister.
Oh my gosh.
Because my mom was so unhinged and so mentally, like unstable that she was causing issues for my sister in the hospital. Like, it was like causing a detriment to my sister's health.
So did they not find that as like I mean, I don't know what year this was, but did they not find that as like a DHS issue?
I think that there's like only so much, unless my mom was like actually physically touching my sister or like hitting my sister or like something like that, then they would probably get them involved. But I think that they didn't want to put my sister through that, and so that's probably why they never got like child protective services involved or whatever. But I think I always fought for a better relationship with my mom because of my sister, and I wanted to always be there for her. I didn't want her to be alone, and like my mom was just dragging her to all these places, like wherever she would move to, my little sister had to go because my mom like kind of bullied my little sister's dad into giving up custody of her whenever she was born. And so my little sister didn't really have a stable parent figure in her life, so I became that. And through that, like my mom would just always take advantage of me because she knew I would be willing to do a lot for my little sister, you know. And whenever like our relationship really like came to an end, it started after my sister passed away, because I started to be like, I don't have to give my mom like all of my energy anymore, because like I would obviously rather my sister be here, but my sister's gone. Like, there's no reason for me to keep on fighting for this like relationship with my mom. She's not a mother. Like, she's just not. She's never been a mother. Like, and so I just like kind of started to give up. And like over time, there would be 6-month periods where I just wouldn't talk to her, and then she would like call me and say, I've been going to therapy, I'm getting my life together, like, please give me another chance. And then I would give her another chance, and then it just always ends up the same. It always ends up the same. She's always like ends up repeating the same cycles. And so I just said, I can't put that on me anymore. Like, I can't be the parent in our relationship anymore. Like, you have to grow up. You're almost 50 fucking years old. Grow the fuck up.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And so that's how I finally like kind of cut her off.
Good for you.
You know, whenever I filed bankruptcy, my mom asked me to basically let her max out my credit cards, and then I would file bankruptcy, so it wouldn't make any difference. Like, it's not me spending money on her. Like, she wanted to max out my credit cards so she could like benefit from my bankruptcy.
Didn't you say in the other one too, she's filed bankruptcy like multiple
3
times?
times.
What?
3 times.
She just, it's fine, I'll just file again.
Yeah. Like,
but that's
she's in
like,
every 7 year.
Oh my gosh. Because you can only do it every 7 years, right?
Every 7 years, I think.
Oh,
that is insane.
Yeah. And when her and my dad were married, they had to file bankruptcy because my mom would like spend all their money. Like, it was always like the moving that always got her. Like, she would spend her last dollar paying a deposit on a new place, and then my dad would come home from work and my mom would be packing shit up in boxes, and she'd be like, we're moving. And that's like not how a marriage works. You know, that's not how a relationship works.
No.
And that's not how anybody should do life. You know, it's just not beneficial for your family, not beneficial for your relationship. And so my dad ended up having to file bankruptcy with my mom because of my mom, like because of her spending and because of her like extremely poor financial decisions. I don't know, it's just really, it's really
You have a good
sad.
relationship with your dad, though?
Yes.
That's good.
We didn't for a while, like after I came out, just because my dad had a hard time accepting that.
Right.
But now we're great. We have a really great relationship.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Staying with him this weekend, you know.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, you stayed with him when you were here with Sadie too,
yeah,
right?
I usually do. I usually stay with him. Yeah. Whenever I come to town.
That's awesome. I love that there's at least, you know, a silver lining to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, these things shape you as a person, and especially, like, when you have kids. I don't know if you are planning on having kids.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's, like, right now my son is the age that I was when I lived with my dad, where a lot of, like, the things that I work through in therapy is, like, that's the time. Boston was 3. I was there from 3 to, like, 6. So, and it's crazy how much those 3 years can shape a child.
Yeah.
But like those traumatic trauma experiences where you don't really realize that there's another way to live life. Mm-hmm. They shape you and change your brain in ways that you don't understand and that you think is normal, or that you like your Enneagram is literally like, you can like nitpick it and be like, it's because of this, this, and this, and it's because
I find that so fascinating. What Enneagram numbers are you guys?
I'm a 3-wing 2.
What are you?
2-wing 1.
I'm a 3-wing 2.
Really? Oh my gosh! No, I like love my job so much that I'm like geek out over it, but like I'm not like that. I used to identify more with like a 4, but definitely like comes from that like fear of abandonment, like that I had to deal with when I did live with my dad, of like wanting to feel accepted and wanting to be the best at everything and wanting to feel like not everybody's mad at me. And like, you know, the 3-wing 2, like I feel like I'm so equal in both of them. Definitely more in a career aspect than, you know, like I'm the 3 strictly for my career. And I feel like in my personal life, I'm definitely more of a 2. Yeah. I've gone back and forth a couple of times in different seasons of my life, but it always comes back to the 3-wing 2, or at least a 3. But I mean, I know with Lexi, if she has an opinion, I need to fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
She never has an opinion. So when she does,
it's hard for me to form my own opinion. But I'm getting there.
Yeah. So like when I'm like, what's for lunch? And she says something, I'm like, yeah, she wants that today. Yeah. She wants that because she actually said something. But then I saw another thing that was like, it actually like, not that I like don't want to like put somebody out by giving them my opinion, or that I don't want to, I'm just too lazy to make the decision. It physically and mentally angers me that I have to be the one to make a decision for something, like, unless I'm passionate about it. Like,
and that is literally me.
Yeah. Like, it's not that I'm like trying to be polite. Like, no, I really don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, Lexi, like this really put it into perspective for me that, you know, whatever. But what about love languages?
I honestly don't really know. I know I love to give gifts, and I also love to get gifts.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think me and my fiance were we just vibe really well.
Yeah.
What is he like, Enneagram and all that?
I think he's a 7.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he the way that you were saying, like, I want to travel the world, I take 7s as YOLOs. Like, you only live once. They want to, like, live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
But you also said he is shy or was shy when you guys met. Is he more reserved?
Whenever we first met, he was a little bit more anxious about just, like, speaking English to me, because he's originally from Venezuela.
That's awesome.
And he learned English before coming to the U.S., but he had only lived in the U.S. for about a year, and all of his coworkers speak Spanish. Most of their clients speak Spanish. He's an architect, and like, I guess probably just because of like their connections through like the Spanish-speaking community in Westchester, most of their clients just end up being Spanish-speaking people. So at work, he never really has to use English. At home, he never had to use English just because his roommates were also from Venezuela. Yeah. So speaking English to me, he felt like, oh my gosh, my English is going to be bad. And his English was great. His English was perfect, you know. Like, obviously he has an accent, but who doesn't love a sexy accent?
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say that, but like, I didn't want to be weird, you know.
No, like, I love it. Like, I love his accent. I find it like really sexy.
Are you like, talk talk Spanish to me.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, say this in Spanish. So he actually knows quite a bit of Arabic, quite a bit of Portuguese. He knows Spanish and English.
Okay, I've heard that people who like are native in other languages are fluent in multiple.
Yeah.
Like not just English is like the hardest to learn alongside Mandarin or something like that.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Something like
that.
Well, English has so many slang words.
And also, we have like one word that will mean 3 different things. Like
read,
there,
read,
there.
Yeah. And then your, and your.
Yeah.
Like that.
Were and where.
Yeah.
Where.
Were.
Where.
And things are also spelled really similar, like quit and quiet. Like they're spelled really similarly.
And read and read. I don't like that. And then when we say
autocorrect has me on that now.
Oh yeah, no. If I didn't have that, I would literally lose my mind.
We probably should end it at some point.
Wrap her up somewhere.
It's gonna be like 4 hours.
So aside from the fact that we're gonna come and hang out with you for a little bit.
When we do that, we can do the podcast.
We can plan that. Yeah, we should definitely plan that. Yeah. I mean, considering that hotel is out of it, thank you so much for that. But considering that hotel is out of it, like a Ford City, okay, we could definitely make this happen sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask the question, what's for lunch? Because, it's getting to be that time.
Okay.
But we thank you so much for coming. And I mean, obviously, like this is going to be something that comes on your side too. But I think that we both just, blabbered the right amount of time. So we're just like, honestly, after all hearing everything and like me just like literally like taking everything in, so freaking proud of you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have kicked ass, like building a whole
like I can't even imagine the amount of healing that you've had to endure over the past however old you are. Incredible and admirable role model that I look up to because you made it out of the freaking dirt.
Oh my gosh.
so
you so much. I appreciate
very proud of you. But thank you for being here and having the best time.
Thanks for coming to my house.
Literally,
Love it.
we had him at Lexi's house.
I was like, I gotta make sure it's clean.
Does it smell good? Does all the things. But anyway,
Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend, whenever you do listen to this. And if you haven't, give us a follow and hit the subscribe or listen or follow or whatever button. So
put them all down in the description.
Yeah. And it's a long one. So thanks for being here. Love ya.